Hello, all my chickadees! Welcome back! Today we're going to be continuing our playthrough of Sacrarium Gelus. Um, Hopefully we'll get healed this part. It's been a long time coming, and I have a feeling we're getting close to the end here. But we're just going to dive on in and check it out. If you haven't seen the other parts yet, you should definitely check them out on my channel. They have their own playlist, so you know what's going on. Alright. Oh, Heimos. Yeah, he like what was it? He used most of his energy and it kind of injured him, or did he actually get injured? It's been a hot minute. But good news is our pretty giant boy is getting a recovery is pretty good. Okay, here we go. Heimos' recovery was inhumane. Inhuman. He went from an ice statue, barely able to maintain balance, to walking and talking like usual in only 3 days. Dude, that is a quick killing. His injuries had seemed pretty severe, deep cuts and punctures. Those were just the ones I could see, too. It was worrying. Oh yeah, didn't he like hold off like 1,000 demons or something like that? I wondered if he had a tendency to be reckless. You were staring at me again. Heimos didn't look up from where he was. Sewing, of all things. I shook my head and moved to stand near where he was working on the ground. His hand moved with careful motions, and I could see his eyes sparkling with magic. It's so weird. It's amazing, come on. There's our boy. Is it really? You're a doctor. You have to realize how amazing this is. To an extent. I also wonder what the cost was. Cost? Constant chronic pain. Even though my injuries heal, the pain lingers. Thus, I always hurt. Oh, that is so sad. Oh no. I went to sit down on the ground beside him. Is it really bad? In the beginning, yes. Now, it's just annoying. I'm so sorry. Everything has a consequence. My situation is nothing more than a consequence of my own actions. That still doesn't make it less unpleasant. To me, it does. I raise a brow. Even though it is less than an ideal situation, I'm here because of my own choices. I wasn't forced here by the gods or anyone else. Thus, it is less of a bitter feeling. Oh man. That chronic pain, like his injuries heal up quickly, but then he's just stuck with chronic pain forever. Oof. Oof. Man. Like, I've broken a bone before, and the ache you get afterwards when it's like a dreary day or, really rainy or something, I couldn't imagine having that 24/7. Oh gosh. And then, like, everywhere? How are you sane, boy? I kind of get it. I'm aware that I'm a bit odd. I don't think you're odd. Unique, maybe. Isn't that just a polite way to say odd? No. Well, in some contexts. Heimos laughed softly then. I didn't mean it in that context. That small, sweet smile lingered on his face. I felt my heart pound in my chest. He really was handsome, and it wasn't fair. You might find it easier to draw a portrait. I blinked at him. He didn't look up from his work. You're staring again. I felt a surge of embarrassment rush through me then, and turned my gaze away. It's a bit frustrating to have the shoe on the other foot, I have no idea what you're talking about. I knew exactly what he was talking about. All the same, this is light vengeance for your earlier teasing. I didn't know light flirting required vintage. Vengeance is flirting to me. I choked on the air a bit. That was further than I expected. Heimos' cheeks are a bit pink, so he is flirting with us now. I didn't mean to say that last bit out loud. I can tell. Vengeance as flirting? The tables had turned again, and Heimos knew it. Look at him blush. I am very rusty at this. Well, it's not like you had many prospects recently. Exactly. Just means we can catch you up, if you're open to it. If I weren't, I would have told you a while ago. I leaned closer to him then. He startled a bit when I rested my head on his shoulder, but he didn't move away. I'm cold. I know, but your robes are soft. Ah, so that's the reason for the flirting. I am to be a glorified pillow. If we can get away with it, yeah. A very pretty pillow. Not prettier than you. Oh, that was a good one. Hey, you're getting better. I've always been a quick study. It was fun spending time with Heimos now. Any air of discomfort had faded into a calm serenity. The serenity shattered when Heimos' eyes flared blue and his hair froze over. Fuck. I was surprised to hear him curse. Heimos stood up and pulled me up with him. I was tucked into his side. Heimos, what? I felt it then, eyes scanning the room. A twisted sensation of revulsion and terror ran through me. I fell silent and watched in horror as a shadow began to peel itself off the wall. The figure was short and seemed to be dripping somehow. A vicious, serrated smile looked unnaturally wide on its face. Oh, have we been getting spied on? Oh no! Well, what's this? The voice was low and raspy. Slightly unhinged malice mixed with obviously maniac glee. A little low and raspy. I don't know if I can do that. Little high has a guest. Those blank, eyeless eyes turned to me. Heimos' inhuman hand covered my face. I could feel something trying to press against me, but Heimos' power fended it off. I have told you, time and again, to request access. Heimos' voice was sharp with anger. He didn't seem surprised, just furious. You're... Oh my gosh, it's hard to get back into that voice once I get out of it. You're the one who ignored my letter. I sound like a freaking frog. Oh well, we start this, we going with it. I'm still working on your request. Then you should have said so. I did. I told your little pet. He didn't tell me this. He's an irrational creation prone to fits of jealousy. It's not unsurprising he wouldn't pass on messages. He is perfect. The new man sounded cold and angry now. Only to you. Are you perfect? And you are perfect. No, you're not. A mangled, pathetic product of the gods. I never claimed to be. Now get out of my home. Why? Your pertinent question has been answered. But I have new ones. The shadow surged forward then, lunging towards me. Heimos grabbed its throat with his hand. Oh-ho, so protective he. Does this mean he is important then? Yes. Heimos admitted it easily. which is why you should be very wary. You can't beat me. Amar can, and they like me more than you. They're not here right now. No, but they've shown me some tricks. Heimos tightened his hand. I watched in fascination as the shadow then cracked. It sounded like furniture twisting and breaking apart. Heimos. Okay, that wasn't right. Heimos. The angry yell was garbled and distorted. The shards of the shadow melted into a puddle. Heimos looked at the ichor on his hand in disgust before flicking it off. Vile thing. He looked down at me. He tightened his grip on me, worry obvious on his face. I am so sorry. I didn't notice him creeping in. Who was that? Violo, another prisoner of the gods. Oh my god, Violo? Wait, is that the boy from Sacrarium, Pario? What? It's that boy, that's gotta be him, right? Cause he's also a prisoner of the gods. Him and his creation, oh my god, the tie-in! The tie-in! Yes! For you guys who don't know, we've also played the demo of Sacrarium Pario, and it's up on my channel. The dev of that and this game has recently stated they have gone back to be working on Pario recently. So hopefully we're going to have an update in the future. But, oh my god, I didn't expect it to be Violo. I love that they're in the same universe. Hell yeah. Okay, that made me so freaking happy. We did finish a route in the demo of it, which was really long. We do have a playlist on it. Please go and check it out if you're interested. Oh my gosh. Okay, back in. An unpleasant one. I didn't expect him to creep in. Shouldn't he be imprisoned? His body is, but all of us can still astral project. Astral project? Send our minds out farther. I'm the weakest, so it's very taxing for me. The others do it quite easily, though. You're the weakest? I'm a bit different from the rest. Heimos seemed not to want to talk about that more, so I didn't press the issue. Will he come back? No time soon. I'm keeping an eye out now. What did he want? He made a request to me that I didn't find utterly repulsive. I've been working on that, and he is impatient. What are you working on? A medication for his creation. His gory work, so I won't go any farther. Oh, yeah, oh god. We did meet his creation, but he wanted a medication for him. It says it's gory work, so what would the medication entail of? Because they kind of like pieced him together. Oh, I'm so curious. I like this. Either way, don't worry about him. I will protect you. No matter what. He spoke so earnestly. I could do nothing but believe him. Okay. Sorry he ruined the mood. He must finally released me then. His human hand slid down my arm. Carefully he twined our fingers together. Should we go back to what we were doing before? I would like that. We settled back down to continue talking. I never expected to have an encounter with another living god. Frankly, I was happy Heimos was the one who I had nearby. That one just seemed horrifying. It took a bit for the warm air to return, but we got there eventually. In just a few minutes, it was almost like the sudden encounter hadn't happened. I felt myself wondering more about him and the other prisoners. The questions could wait for another time. Heimos fussed over me a bit after Violo's impromptu visit. While the encounter had been unpleasant, I did my best to reassure Heimos I was fine now. Yeah, he protected us. We didn't get hurt. He seemed skeptical, but he let it go eventually. I do promise he's the only one that bad. Well, him and his pet. Heimos spoke to me while we were both reading. He'd gone through the trouble of writing out a translation for a book I was interested in. Oh, we're like, oh, we're interested in this book, but we can't read it. And he's like, I got you, bae. And he translated it for us. Oh, that's so time-consuming and like, cute. He practically turned beet red when I thanked him. Thus, we sat with our sides pressed against one another and our backs to the ice pillar. Heimos, who usually sat cross-legged, had his legs stretched out to let our legs touch too. It was cute. I looked up from my stack of papers to reply. I believe you. Good. Heimos looked wary. Are you okay? His shadow had toxins in it. They are unpleasant to endure. Toxins? I looked him up and down for signs of poison. When I leaned close, I could faintly see that some of his veins were black. Oh no. Violo! Why? Stop being a little shit, dude. Why? Because he's petty. Heimos shrugged. It's not like it will kill me. It just feels uncomfortable. Heimos, you are too reckless with your body. There is nothing in this world that could kill me. That doesn't mean it's okay to hurt yourself over and over. It's worrying. I frowned at him. Heimos let out a light huff at that. I felt a bit of frustration burn in me then. Maybe I should go break some bones. What? I'm thinking of ways to make you understand how this behavior of yours makes me feel. After all, I imagine you'd go to extreme lengths to keep me healthy and safe. Should I go be reckless with my body? Of course not. Beyond the fact failure is always possible, there's no need to hurt yourself unnecessarily. So, it would make you uncomfortable if I did that. Of course it would. Heimos paused. Little light bulb goes off. Yeah, we don't want you to get hurt, bud. I see your point. I knew you'd get there eventually. Heimos rolled his eyes at me. I will strive to be more careful, though it is always difficult with some things. I'm happy to hear you at least willing to try. I make no promises. Gods and living gods live dangerous existence. That ominous statement made me wonder more about his situation. Heimos had opened up some, but there were still some obvious gaps in my knowledge. I'd have to ask him at some point. When the time came for dinner, I was burning with a variety of questions. Heimos could see it, and he let out a playfully annoyed sigh. Yes, Sparrow. Could you tell me more about the living gods? Did Violo's visit inspire this line of thinking? I nodded. Very well. What would you like to know? Anything? Everything? Look at that eyebrow cocked. Heimos gave me a tired glare. It melted into fondness. Let us start with the simple parts. Heimos paused to take a sip of tea before continuing. There are 5 of us in total. Amare, the Advarius, they tore down the heavenly gates to soothe their own curiosity. Did they really? They did. They're curious about reality and how it could bend and break. Their curiosity caused them to just walk into the heavens. How did they not die? Because they were powerful enough to survive multiple gods attacking them at once. My jaw dropped. The oldest would, of course, be the strongest. I see. Who's next? Heimos. This is you, the deceitful, he who tricked death and fate by lying to everyone around him. The deceitful? I raised a brow. It is an annoying technicality. I survived death's curse on my people. How did you do that? Death used this place as an isolated storage unit. I found his journal and began to decipher it. Even with my limited magic at the time, I could figure it out. When he cursed this place, I used the spells I discovered to freeze my own time to avoid the curse overtaking me. Heimos held up his inhuman hand and wriggled his fingers, with some mild consequences. After I discovered I was alone, I wandered. How old were you? When did this happen? I was 20. My heart broke for him then. I reached out and took his hand to give it a light squeeze. Heimos gave me a sad smile before raising his hand to my lips. Raising my hand to his lips. His brief kiss was cold and soft. It was 8 years ago. Was it really 8 years ago? Oh, technically it was longer. Yeah, in his head, because time will just like pass over him. Remember that he's not aware of time passing if, someone else isn't around. So to him, it has only been 8 years, and he has been here for hundreds of years. That doesn't make it any less tragic. True. The pain has lessened by now, though. His thumb stroked the back of my hand. And now, I'm not exactly lonely. I felt a bit of embarrassed excitement surge through me then. Heimos let our hands fall between us without letting go. It gets worse, I'm afraid. Of course it does. Heimos chuckled at my grumbling. I used my new knowledge to save many, many lives in the coming years. I was always careful to keep my methods hidden, to hide myself from death. I felt my heart sink once I realized where this was going. I found a second community to call home. I built a new life. Fell in love. His hand tightened around mine. I trusted them. The minute they found out, they called the gods down upon me. I was captured and imprisoned for defying death's wrath and for breaking the chains of mortality. The gods could not kill me, so this was their only option. A story so similar to my own. Is that why? Somewhat. It truly did begin out of cultural incourtesy. His cheeks turned lightly pink. Now it's personal interest. I won't fail you. I know you won't. Shall I continue about the rest? Yes, please. It was obviously he mostly wanted to shift the topic off himself. I was so curious about the others. Next is Nakar. Okay, I think we met Amare and Nakar through the mirror in Sacrarium Pario, because there was voices coming through there. So I think that's where we met them at. The Violent. She who killed Justice in a fit of fury to soothe her own guilt. Killed a god? Killed a god. With her bare hands. Oof. She had a little help from Amar and I, but she did most of the heavy lifting. Why? For reasons I cannot say. Let's just say, out of all the gods were shaken when they realized that they could die. That secret is kept only by Nakar, though, so I don't know it. Otherwise, I imagine you would have bullied death into releasing your people. Exactly. Heimos' easy agreement made me laugh. The final two are a pair. Violo, the profane. He who broke the laws of creation for his own pleasure. Vivir, the aberration. He who dared to exist despite his unnatural creation. Vivir, that's his name? Okay, I totally forgot the creation's name. I didn't know he was considered one of the living gods. Oh, cool. So, we've met 3 of the 5 in person through these 2 games, and we've spoken to the other 2, Nakar and Amare, through the mirror. Do you think, like, the dev will eventually have them, like, show up in person? That'd be interesting. Reproduction via sex is a divine gift of the gods, and it still isn't creating from absolute nothing. Mortals cannot create life from nothing, or they shouldn't be able to. Violo figured out how. He could create totally new things. Vivir is a product of that. They're both unhinged and terrifying. yeah, that's about right. I shuddered when remembering the encounter we had. I can see why. From what I hear, Visitor-Sacrarium is constantly pumping out monsters. Just to sate his curiosity is repugnant. Heimos practically spat out the last few words. It's probably for the best that that island is very isolated. He'd probably wreak havoc otherwise. Agreed. I mean, if a ship gets too close, they get their shit rocked, so... But wait. He's the 4th. You're the 2nd. How is he stronger than you? Difference in our mortal life paths. How was an apothecary apprentice with some mild magical knowledge? He was a mage from the beginning. Ah. Age isn't everything. Heimos' nod. You're all in contact? Amar started it, to avoid us getting lonely. His voice sounded fond then. They're a good person. When do you plan on introducing us? I was teasing him. He had a surprisingly serious reply. Someday. After all, Amar would strangle me if I had a lover without telling them. I felt my breath catch. Oh, are you qualifying us as your lover? Oh, he's blushing. He's blushing. Is that hopeful? Is that what we are? Not yet, but maybe one day. His hand flexed in mine. One day? Why not today? He most practically choked on the air. He reminded me of a startled cat. Pardon? Why not today? Are you still uncertain? I mean, I do like you. Heimos was fumbling now. I'm just aware of my ability to fall fast. So I wanted to avoid pressuring you. I laughed and leaned in close. Luckily, I fall just as fast. I see. His voice cracked a bit. You are adorable. He really is. I will bite you. Oh my god. Look at him. I will bite you. I'm using that now. I'm gonna use that. Like, you're adorable. I'll bite you. Kinky. He most let out a strangled groan of annoyance. Do you still think they'll like me? I like you, so of course they will. We continue to talk about Amare and Nakare. For someone who seemed so isolated, he spoke of them fondly. It felt like listening to him describe his siblings. Time passed almost too quickly, but we passed it together. Last week! I hope we have an option to stay with him. Heimos had called me out to the main room. He stood in front of the fire, eyes faintly glowing with power. I walked up to Heimos and stood beside him. I brushed my hand against his. Without missing a beat, his long fingers intertwined with mine. Even though he was still obviously somewhere else mentally, I could see his faint smile on his face. After a few seconds, the power faded and he blinked a few times. My apologies. Someone else had called my name. That surprised me. Someone else on the mountain? Yes. Traders from the look of it, eager to get moving now that the weather has calmed. Heimos squeezed my hand in his. I had to make sure they have a safe path. Do they? They do now. I allocated forces to keeping devils away from them. Did you do that with me too? I did. Heimos grimaced, though one slipped through. My guards are a bit dull. Guards? Are you talking about the ravens? Heimos hesitated for a long while. I promise I won't judge you, Heimos. Necromancy. Oh. Dude, you're into necromancy too? His reluctant mumble was too quiet for me to hear. What? He sighed. I am also the living god of necromancy. That caught me off guard. Of all things, I hadn't expected that. Heimos looked a bit anxious. Isn't that antithetical to the whole medicine thing? Not really. I know how to freeze bodies, so necromancy is obscenely easy for me. While I abhor violence, people do still try to harm or steal from me. Those are the ones who die usually, and, well, waste not, want not. I remembered an old legend at that moment. Wait, the skeletons on the mountain are real? Every kid was told the story of the skeletons who shambled down the mountains to take away naughty children. I don't send them to take children, but yes, there are moving skeletons on the mountains. I gaped at him. How do you control all that? Elementals alone were hard to control, and I'd seen Heimos wrangle more than a few with ease. Necromancy was an even harder feat to pull off. I'm very good at multitasking, and I have an air elemental supervising most day-to-day things. Ah. They're also the ones who alert me if someone says my name on the mountain. You're not just always listening? That would be maddening very quickly. I tapped my finger against my chin. How far can you reach? Violo managed to reach here, and I assume you can do something similar. I am unsure. It's a lot harder for me. It's easier to use the eyes of a raven, but even then that can cause strain. Projecting my mind outside of Mount Gelus is like stepping into a blizzard. Very hard to focus. Also very tiring. I tried to avoid it since I dislike sleeping. You dislike sleeping? When I'm alone, yes. Technically, I could sleep for decades without knowing. It's a scary thought. My heart broke for him a bit. Fear and nerves made his words shake just a little. I can only imagine. Anyways, you're a distraction as always. Am I? You always seem to take me off track at least. I asked to speak with you for a reason. The panacea is almost done. I held my breath for a moment. Really? I thought we still had a few days. Yes, in about a day, the panacea will reach the strength it needs to cure you. I'd rather you not take it immediately. Why? That seemed like an odd request. It will technically be ready, but it will still be very raw. That will make assuming it a bit painful. I'd rather you wait longer, if you're willing. Will waiting make it hurt less? Yes. If it has time to refine itself, there should be no pain at all. I can wait a bit then. Is this an excuse just for us to stay longer too? I didn't see any point in rushing this. Heimos gestured for me to follow him. I'm going to show you where my pansias are developed. I blinked in surprise. Then I thought about it. Heimos had a slightly obsessive personality when it came to his work. Even with me around, he could still lose himself in his work. I also just want you to know where it is if you ever need one in the future. Pansia is really the wrong term for these things. In truth, it is my power manifested, and it can be useful for a variety of things. So, I have your permission to just borrow your power? Freely. You are so sweet. Heimos' cheeks pinked a bit. It is completely understandable that I would give things to you. Even pieces of me. Adorable. Hush. He lightly swat at my shoulder. Heimos nodded his head in a direction. Come with me. We entered one of the many dark hallways of the Sacrarium. Okay. Oh man, I never know where's a good spot to stop. There we go. I never know where a good spot to stop is with this game. Oh wow, 'cause I was like, hey, yeah, we'll stop here, and then it just keeps going. Oh, this was a really good episode. I like this. We got to learn more about the other gods, and frickin' Violo visited. Dude. I would have gave you a better voice if I knew you were a Violo. Oh, wow. If you guys like this, make sure to leave a like and leave a comment too, you know? Let me know what you thought about this. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing so you can be up to date when the next part of this drops. And I will see you guys in the next one, where apparently we're going to be healed. Ah! It is getting close to over. No! Okay, bye-bye, my chickadees.